Hello viewers, far and wide. My name is Tutor Mansa, and today we will be looking at the arrangement of particles in the three states of matter. Is that alright? Okay, this is the first part of today's session. So let's answer the first question. Draw the arrangement of particles in the three states of matter. If you remember the physical properties I gave you in the first video actually, you will remember that gases, the particles in gases are far apart. So how do they look like? How are they arranged? So let's see how we can draw them in this box. All right? So particles in gases are far apart. That's how they are arranged. Is that all right? They are what? Far apart. So I'll put a particle there. I'll put another one there. I'll put another one there and another one there. Even one here. So this is how particles in gases are arranged. Is that all right? Okay, let's move on. Solids. How are particles arranged in solids? So if you remember the physical properties of solids, when we talk about why solids have fixed shapes, they have fixed shapes because their particles are closely packed in a regular manner. Is that okay? Their particles are closely packed and arranged together in a what? A regular manner. So they look like this. They are closely packed and arranged together in a regular manner. Okay, there are no spaces in between their particles. So particles in solids are closely packed together in a regular manner. Is that all right? So this is a skeleton diagram of how the particles in solids look like. Is that all right? Okay. Let's look at how particles are arranged in liquids. All right. If you remember the physical properties of liquids, you remember that liquids are closely packed together, but what? In a irregular manner. Is that okay? So similar to solids being closely packed, but what? In a irregular manner. So we'll put a particle here. We can put another one here, another one here. They are not in the order in which solids are packed. So a particle can be anywhere. There's no particular order in which these particles in liquids are what? Are arranged. They are arranged in a what? Irregular manner. So in solids, let me go back to solids and emphasize something. These guys are arranged in a regular manner. What do I mean? They are in, if there are three particles in a row, there will be three, and they will be in a straight row. They won't be the way particles in liquids are. You can see there are various particles in liquids, right? But they are not in a certain order. They are not in a particular row or column. But for solids, I can even draw a line like this and draw a line like this. I can draw a vertical line downwards and a horizontal line across like this. That shows me that their particles are what? Are arranged in a what? Regular manner. I hope that's all right. Okay, so that concludes the first part of our lesson. Okay, let's go to the second part. What do we call the change of state from solid to liquid? Okay, under changes of state, we have to understand what it means when we say change of state. So when we say change of state, these are physical changes that occur when these particles gain or lose heat. Is that okay? All right. So when we talk about this change of state in this case, they are telling us what do we call the change of state from solid state to what? Liquid state. We call that process what? Melting. So the answer there is what? Melting. Okay, now what do we call the change of state from solid state to gas state? Many people don't know the answer here, but I'll tell you today. This process is called sublimation. Take note, this is not from solid to liquid, which is melting. Instead, it's directly from solid to gas. Is that okay? And that process is called what? Sublimation. Okay. What do we call the change of state from liquid to solid? Changing from liquid state to solid state. Let's give an example of water. When we put water in a fridge, it changes to ice. Ice is in which state? Solid. So that process is called what? Freezing. Okay, what do we call the change of state from liquid to gas state? Changing a substance changing from liquid to gas state, it goes under a certain process that we call evaporation. This concept has been taught even in primary school. Yes, seeing that I'm sure everybody has passed through primary school. Or if you haven't, it's all right, because today you're learning that the change of state from liquid to gas is called what? Evaporation. Okay. Okay, so what do we call the change of state from gas state to liquid state? Changing from a gas, turning into what? A liquid. That process is called condensation. Many people have problems pronouncing this word, but it's simple. It's condensation. All right. So changing from gas state to liquid state is by which process? Condensation. Okay. What do we call the change of state from a gas to a solid? People confuse this with sublimation. Sublimation is starting from a solid going to what? A gas. But in this case, we're starting from a gas going to what? A solid. This process is called deposition. Deposition. So take note. All right. And the last question, the final part of today's lesson, is asking what are the two processes in nature that all changes of state fall under? What are the two processes in nature that all changes of state fall under? So there are two processes in nature that all changes of state fall under. These processes are endothermic and exothermic processes. So I'll write that down. Endothermic, and exothermic processes. Is that okay? So let me briefly explain on endothermic and exothermic processes. When we talk about endothermic processes, these are processes that require heat. These processes need to gain heat to take place. Example, melting. A substance needs to gain heat to undergo what? Melting. From changing from which state? From solid state to liquid. That's an example of a what? Endothermic process. What about exothermic processes? Exothermic processes are those processes that take place when a substance needs to what? Lose heat. When a substance loses heat, or when it gives out heat, an exothermic process occurs. In such processes occur when a substance, such as a liquid, turns to what? A solid. Under which, what's the name of that process? It's called what? Freezing. So freezing is an example of a what? Exothermic process. All right, that concludes today's lesson. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Share. Make sure you share. All right, we'll see you in the next lesson. Shalom, shalom.